Hello and welcome to Survival of the Thickest, testing the process of natural selection by proving that snakes are dicks. I hate snakes. I will not be told otherwise.
What's wrong with snakes?
They're just the worst. They don't require existence, in my opinion.
To be honest, I think they're the fact that they move with, like, the way they move without legs is pretty cool. Like, they certainly have
Yeah,
defied
but I've
evolution.
done that on a Saturday night, Reuben.
I would know that you moved without legs. Good. Good. So anyway, we are back again for our third episode. We are coming to you from Kiel. Cam's made his way here all the way from Manchester. How was your journey?
Not bad. The M6 was a bit...
Was it M60?
Gave me a bit of grief,
Yeah,
but
I can imagine that.
other than that...
But you're here now.
Ready and raring to go. Very keen.
Yeah, and there was a slim chance that you might not have been able to come today, because obviously next week you have to, give your dissertation work to somebody?
Right, I have to give in my plan next week. The plan for my dissertation. The full essay is not due until the end of March, but she wants the plan.
And is this like
a
a practice dissertation or something? Or,
I mean, it's not a full dissertation. It's like 9 pages. 9 pages maximum.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, but you are here, so I'm guessing you have time to.
I got like a semi plan out of the way this morning. And
because obviously this is going to be new to me. I've never done a dissertation. I'm a full year behind you, so perhaps for me and people listening, you could just give us a slight rundown on what you got going on.
You want a little taster?
Yeah. I'll give us a little kind of, I don't know, description kind of thing.
Okay, right. Well, this is good. I like this because this is full on biology content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we're going to have lots of today. Like today, it's going to be biology.
Yeah, because I had nothing to bring to the table on the actual topic today. I'm just going to talk about what I had to do this week.
Yeah.
And that counts.
Okay.
That counts. All right. So my dissertation is about GM food. Do you know much about that?
I'm guessing we're talking kind of food that's made to be more, I don't know, efficient, nutritional, better survival rate, stuff like that.
Certainly,
I'm
yeah. That's the sort of thing we're dealing with. And there is massive controversy, especially in the EU, especially in the UK, about whether or not that's okay. And so,
I mean, from my standard so far, I mean, yes, it should be okay. Obviously, not too far.
Well, look, this is the thing. As a scientist, you and I will both want to say, let's make this as accessible and as easy for scientists to do as possible.
Yeah.
Because as we know, from like back an A-level, the actual process of genetically modifying plants is not that hard.
No, not really.
And that's why I told my dissertation supervisor, I'm not that interested in the process. I've known about Agrobacterium chimpanzeans
all that stuff
for ages. It's just not that interesting to me. What's more interesting is why there's controversy at all. Because basically, there are basically no good studies that say health is at all affected. What they strive for when they're testing is I haven't got it written down here. It's a really good phrase. It's got substantial equivalence, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what you want, you compare it with the sort of wild type crop or the normally used agricultural crop.
Yeah.
And you've got to work on the assumption that that's safe and that a consumer is happy to use that. You then compare that with the GM crop.
And we say compare as in what sense? Like,
so you're talking about whether it's got any allergenic properties, whether it's got toxic properties, what the difference is in nutritional value.
Flavour, obviously.
I don't think they mind too much. I think, on balance, if a tomato tastes like a tomato, but it doesn't give you bowel cancer,
it's probably going to do the
They're
job.
fine.
Your
They're fine with
BLT is safe.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. And so...
So are you given like a question or something, or
not
is it
as
more
such.
like an
I was
open-
given more a topic.
a topic? Okay.
Which is... What the topic was actually called Frankenstein foods, which is what the media was calling it when it was at sort of at its height of controversiality.
Yeah.
That's a word that I made up.
Nice.
Yeah. Basically, in like the early 2000s, or it was like 1999, there was this guy called Pastassi or something.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote, or he did a study, did not publish these results, but the study seemed to suggest that this particular GM crop would, or it was a GM potato or something, it would have adverse effects on the gut of mice. Okay.
Right.
Did not publish these results.
Bit rude. Yeah.
Later transpires that there is just a bunch of problems with that study, like controls, all of that jazz, all the classic stuff, all the statistical analysis.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
Yeah.
Regardless, rather than publishing these results, he goes to the news and says, "Guys, GM could be bad." And you know the classic news headlines.
Yeah.
They come up with Frankenstein foods or Franken foods. They are ready to tear this to shreds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they've got some evidence, kind of.
Well, no, that's the thing. This guy's claim was the evidence.
Oh, wow, okay, right.
And so everyone sort of back references that.
Yeah.
And of course, once you get the sort of snowball effect going, everyone's just quoting the last article that said it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But what it all boils down to is this one scientist that did a kind of crappy study, but, you know, everyone's quoting him anyway. And so, of course, there's the huge backlash of that. Everyone's saying, "Oh, we need more regulation."
I mean, how long ago are we talking here? Are we talking 10 years ago? Because like, I don't particularly remember it being in the news, so it can't have been in the last...
Well, no, this was 2000 or 1999. When it all kicked off, which is interesting in its placement because I guess the UK was it was ripe and ready for a food controversy, right?
Looking for a story.
You've heard of mad cow disease?
Yeah, I know some women. No,
Oh no! All right.
I know. Mad cow disease. Yeah.
Right. That sort of kicked off. Funnily enough, that kicked off in 1996.
Ah.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that. And so that was a huge, major problem, and it made the general public question, like, food safety.
Yeah.
Why wasn't this caught up on before? Why didn't we see this coming? Why did people say, "Don't worry, that's safe to eat"? And then what people were saying in the year 2000 was GM is the next mad cow disease, in that we just don't know if what we're eating is safe.
I mean, it transpires that I guess most of it is safe. Otherwise...
Well, that's the thing. There are no sort of good studies, good controlled studies that adamantly say this has a bad effect on human health. But the risk we take is sort of taking a lack of evidence as sort of an evidence for a lack of harm.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So what my dissertation will boil down to is essentially three main parts. So you've got the fact is, part one is that really there are no harmful effects. We should trust GM food as a technology. We should be really pleased that we can do this.
Yep.
Part two is the controversy, right? That I've just talked about, how one claim can make it go crazy out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how the media is going to really latch onto that, because they love a negative story.
Oh yeah, it's always what was it? Bacon gives you cancer, wasn't it? A couple of months ago.
And the thing,
I had a
bacon
bacon sandwich for lunch. It didn't stop me. And I'm still here now, so there we go. But
because cancer does develop in
the space of 6 hours.
Yeah.
Depends how much bacon you had, and I can tell you I had a lot of bacon. And it was smoked as well, so you could argue.
Oh, dear.
Okay. And there's a third part, did you say? Did we get to that?
Yeah, well, the third part is saying, right, you've got that there's no harm. You've got a controversy, but what I think is important is that we appreciate that the general public is being critical, is being skeptical.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big part of science in general. It's about calling people up on it, saying, where are your references? Did you do this correctly?
Yeah.
And if the public are holding people or holding scientists accountable for that, that's we're in a really sort of, I want to say, progressive society. It seems progressive. It seems weird calling something progressive when they're holding back a technology.
Yeah.
But it's about making sure something is absolutely safe.
Well, what I find interesting is that even if the news journals and whatever, they're saying negative stuff about GM, and people are reading this and then questioning it, at least it's good that people are questioning it.
People are questioning
even
it.
if they read The Sun and go, it's a load of rubbish, they can still, at the end of the day, have another thing and go, well, maybe I should, think about where my food comes from.
That was another interesting thing about this particular controversy back in the late 90s, was that there was no discrepancy between your tabloids and your broadsheet. Everyone's talking about GM, and you can have the newspapers that either choose to take a strong negative campaigning stance, or the people that don't.
I'd like to know, which one was which, but
oh well, if I had all the notes, I could tell you. But but the point was, it wasn't a tabloid,
just a tabloid thing.
No, everyone wanted their sort of piece of the pie, if you will, because it was such a controversial thing, and what they clearly saw was, for a month, GM is selling papers. Ultimately, GM was a story that will sell papers.
Yeah. Oh well, that again, it sounds interesting. So you're in your group, or as in your course, as that's what I mean to say, in your course, were you all given the same Frankenstein food, and then you split up? No. Were you all given
in the entire biology department was given a choice of about 300, 400
really?
Different topics. You go online, you rank your top 8. And they'll give you one
out
of
of 300 or so. Blimey.
Yeah,
that'd take a while.
You needed to look through.
And was it arranged? Did you have I don't know, like physiology, and did you have
exactly?
ecology,
the website. So you could look at some and you go, I'm not gonna get into that at all.
Yeah.
But there was there are ones for biotech. There are ones for
God, exciting. Yeah.
There are ones for genomics. There are ones for history of science. There are one for plant science, which is where I picked mine up.
I mean, could you perhaps look at a question now that could maybe help you next year? Because I'm presuming this is the whole point of why you're doing it now, is to kind of ease you in to doing a proper one next year.
Look, I wish I could tell you exactly what I was doing next year, but
you have no idea.
For that to be the case, I would need to be a lot more engaged than I currently am.
Just pick, what you should do is just pick an animal or a living thing, pick a problem, and then just randomize it and just see what crops up. So I don't know. So let's say,
can elephants cure MS?
Yes, good example. Do goats hold the secret to unlocking the genomic sequence of the original what's the term? Ancestor. There we go. The original. I've got this great poster behind me on my wall of the Tree of Life, That sounds like such a biology nerd.
You had to really reach for that one.
I did, and on the bottom
Let's
of
quickly
it,
make it relevant.
on the bottom of it, there's the origin of life, and there you go. Maybe you could see if goats hold that. Anyway, moving on from goats to another four-legged farmyard animal.
Oh, wow. Smooth
Thank
transition.
you. Our kind of main topic today, we were going to talk about Dolly the sheep. Dolly the sheep would have been 20 last year, or 21 this year, and conveniently, we also were 20 last year and 21 this year, so we thought, why not talk about Dolly the sheep?
We thought it would be nice to look back at 1996 and say, well, what happened? What happened in science? What was important in biology?
I mean, you say what?
in that
I mean,
year?
Pokemon Red and Blue was released in Japan. I think it's quite important, or Red and Green, I believe. So that was a major.
Because they explained evolution perfectly. There were no misunderstandings that were pumped through that game.
Forward you onto the game theory series on Pokemon evolution. So those of you that don't know, I hope most of you would, because we covered Dolly the sheep in like GCSE. I'm sure we did.
It's a good one to go for.
She was the first mammal clone. Obviously, we had clones of other stuff, but she was the first.
Oh, that was another funny thing. Sorry to
no, go on.
Jump back into my dissertation, but I was reading one of these books that was critical of GM, and it was like, oh, be careful what you're eating, and then it quotes Dolly the sheep as the first cloned animal, and I'm like, all right, okay, well researched.
Yeah,
this is a sort of thing where you're like, okay, the good stuff, the good research thing, like my dissertation, is what you want to be reading.
The little things you pick up on, I see what you're getting at. Well, I was just having a little research into Dolly, because, like I say, I knew the basics, and I guess, most people do. But there was a couple of things that I didn't realise, that I thought I'd just try to bring up to talk about. I didn't realise that she was actually the 278th attempt at cloning.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was that many, like...
What, in that lab?
Yeah, in that particular experiment, yeah. 278.
I feel it's one of those mad scientist moments where you look back at all the failed attempts and you go, is there a reason we're doing this? you know that classic man wasn't meant to meddle argument.
Yeah.
You just get the sort of feeling that we failed so many times at trying to clone something.
Yeah.
Is this a bit too sci-fi? But
yeah.
You know what? They didn't give up.
Pursued.
We
they
proved the
pursued
point
it.
there.
Yeah. The person that was pursuing it was called Ian Wilmot and Keith Campbell, who were both colleagues at the Roslin Institute, part of the University of Edinburgh.
Nice.
And I just thought, let's have a look about, what their scientific life is, what their interests. My favourite thing I found was that Ian Wilmot, his thesis, is master. What do you do a thesis for? Yeah, you don't have to whisper. It's not like... anyway...
Yeah, that wasn't even a signal to you, was it? I said it straight into the microphone as well.
His PhD was on the preservation of boar semen. And I just thought, okay, that's interesting. Unfortunately, it's locked behind University of Cambridge doors. But...
They're not totally... conflicting fields. He was still dealing with sheep.
It's farmyard genetics.
Yeah.
And obviously, you want this boar semen for, inseminating cows. You're looking at...
Sorry,
do you remember?
It's just reminded me of in biology.
Yes. We had like
that.
a young student teacher kind of thing, wasn't he?
I think he might have been on some sort of graduate scheme.
Yeah.
Something like Teach First.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sleeth or something, that was his name, wasn't it?
We can't call him out.
He could be
name.
doing good things. He could be going places, and we're going to give him a shout out.
Right, and we're going to piggyback on his success.
There's nothing wrong with this story. He just showed us a cracking video of some artificial insemination, or it was like this poor guy.
I just remember the machine that the guy had to attach to the bull.
Yeah.
That sort of,
I bet you remember.
for want of a better word, milked the.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I remember that.
It wasn't something I was prepared to
traumatic
see.
experience.
Because we are from Suffolk, but we are in no way related to the sort of agricultural business.
As much as I wouldn't mind it, because it's probably quite interesting.
It's a noble profession, but I don't want to do that to a bull.
Milk a bull. So anyway, back to Dolly. I guess it's also kind of common knowledge that Dolly was named after Dolly Parton.
Yep.
Because of her, well, I'll quote, "Dolly is derived from a mammary gland cell, and we couldn't think of a more impressive pair of glands." So, shout out to Dolly Parton there.
There you go. Also showing the age of the study, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine if it had been... No, we're not going to go there. If it had been cloned now, who would it be named after? Go on, Reuben. No, let's not go there. Let's not go too laddie, okay?
Fair enough. Other things I didn't realise, that Dolly actually had some lambs. I didn't realise this. I don't know if I'm being...
What?
Okay, clearly from that reaction, I'm not the only one. But she actually had...
You know how you're told, like, oh... It died young, though, so what does that tell you about cloning?
Cloning's going to screw you over. But actually, Sally and Rosie were twins, and then triplets Lucy, Darcy, and Con. Nice camera.
Totally unrelated. I've just dribbled all over myself.
Do you want a straw for your squash next time?
I think we should be able to crack on as if that didn't happen.
So, funnily enough, actually, again, it's all coming together here. In 2 days' time, the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, Dolly was, or I say in 2 days' time, 14 years ago, Dolly was unfortunately put to sleep because of her progressive lung diseases and cancers, I believe, and stuff like that.
Nice.
It wasn't going well for her, unfortunately.
Okay,
yeah. So she lived 6.5 years, and obviously a Finn Dorset, which is the breed of sheep, you usually expect to live around 12. So, it's a halfway life, and that's again kind of common knowledge. You're taught this GCSE A level that clones don't do as well as
are we
normal.
Supposed to be worried about that?
Yeah,
blah,
and
blah.
I was doing some research. Because I've got nothing else to do. And I found one of my favourite things is to find really old website articles. Like, really, really old. Like, when the birth of, the internet was happening. And I found this one from Thursday, the 27th of May, 1999. Okay, BBC News. And it was, is Dolly old before her time? And it was basically just talking about the genetic reasons of why a clone may... not last as long as...
I haven't actually ever looked into that, so
that's
intriguing. Yeah.
But what I found more interesting than the actual thing itself was just the fact that 1999, that's not that long ago. That's not that long ago that this wasn't common knowledge. And it doesn't take long for it to be shoved into the curriculum and it to be spoken, or taught to us.
I think it's more impressive that it's in, GCSE and A-level curriculum.
Yeah,
because that's generally a bit more slow to. Because at least if you're at uni, they can sort of get information straight from the mouth of the researchers, if you will.
But it's just the fact that this one, not generic, but this one normal article that was published on a normal day about, and it was all just theory at the time. Like, this wasn't after. This was, a good, what was it, 4 years before she actually died, saying about, is Dolly too old for her time? And now it's common knowledge. Makes me think, when I go through BBC News and I read an article, I don't know, it will say something like, it's just some new technology. I remember, so there's one about this particular type of, it was a syringe, and it contained this kind of, plant protein or something, and it was used for...
Okay, right, we're back in my wheelhouse.
And it was used for, sealing up wounds and stuff. Do you remember this? Yeah, and I heard about this a few years ago, and at the time, I read it and I go, meh, okay, brush over it. In in 10 years'
in 10
time,
years' time when
it
they're
could be
using that
everywhere.
on the battlefields and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
and you know, it will just throw me back to reading that one article. I just found it really interesting to read from 1999. So, yeah. Other things I didn't know about Dolly. She had some, if you want to call them twins, as in she was a twin, kind of. Basically, Daisy, Diana, Debbie, and Denise. Have you heard of them?
Yeah,
They're
I
not
think I have.
some, I don't know, they sound like, I don't know, the kind of four names you'd expect to find in an old people's home. Like, come and meet Daisy, Diane, Debbie, and Denise.
It wasn't 20 years ago. Was not that old. We can't start putting ourselves in the old bracket.
Yeah, but they've been cloned, and they're actually doing really well. This is as of last year. I haven't got the date that they were born, if you want to call it that. I could try and find it quickly. But no, they are going strong. I believe they're about 11 years old now.
Okay, right. So, when were they cloned?
I'm going to find that out. Okay, so I was actually wrong. They're between 7 and 9 years old, so you can just probably work backwards to work out when they were born. But no, they are doing well, and as much as it pains me to say, perhaps one day we can come back and, you know, they would have lived their average 11, 12-year lifespan, and we can talk about that, because it just shows that that was a clone that worked, like, properly.
And so people can just shut up about clones being bad.
Actually, no. Before we go, some questions about Dolly. I found these, so I was doing some more research. I thought you'd like these. Well, not like them, but I thought you'd want to talk about them.
I didn't think I'd get a quiz today.
Well, no. It's not like a quiz. Like I'm giving you questions. These are questions from 19. Okay, I haven't actually got a date on it. The article was written. Well, the author was active between 1999 and 2009, so any time between there. But no, these are questions that someone else or other people have asked on this website here, synapses.co.uk, The Life and Death of Dolly, if anyone wants to read the entire article.
Do you get the impression that, like, they must have been questions that have been done early because they seem a bit like...
Well, I'll read... Okay, I'll give you the first example. So it says, Hanny writes from South Africa saying, why did the process have to be repeated 276 times? Don't the cells divide, or is it because the experiment failed 276 times? The experiment failed 276
yes.
times, unfortunately. But no, so some interesting ones here. If Dolly was to receive a heart or a liver from her twin, would her body recognise the new organ as a foreign body, or would it accept it as its own?
It would have. I'm no immunologist, but surely it's got the same antigens.
Yeah.
So it would be accepted.
Dolly never had a living twin, unfortunately.
Sure.
But you'd imagine so. Yeah. Organs transferred from identical twins are usually accepted as if they had come from the same person. So, say usually, there are many exceptions, I imagine, but yeah. Another interesting one here. So, if we were to clone Bill Gates, would the clone have the same IQ and photographic memory as the original? Would the clone have the same tempestuous personality as the original? I've really bodged that, I imagine. But, yeah, that's a great question. I mean... Probably not.
That's proper sci-fi. I'm going to say definitely not.
But as much as we know that it's a mixture of nature and nurture, I'd like to know almost what the percentages are. Because, you know, some people are naturally gifted. Like yourself. Anyway.
No.
And some people...
No, that wore off long ago. I'm just as average as everyone else now.
So, I'd like to know kind of how much... Bill Gates' natural IQ as such would be down to
his genetics. I guess that's a much broader question that we are totally.
And then the final one that I thought was clever, and I didn't think about this. I'm getting very confused. Some say Dolly is fake, some say she is real. I would really appreciate it if you would tell me just a simple yes or no. So obviously that's someone that hasn't quite got the idea that it was real. And this is what I'm getting at. Is
this like a conspiracy theorist?
Slightly, but no, if you think about it, this question was asked at a time where this wasn't normal. Or, wasn't common. People must have thought, this is weird. You can make a new animal out of it? Like,
can someone from the 70s confirm if this was the same for the moon landing? Is this actually real?
do you know what I mean, though? I think it must be fascinating. Like, you know what? In however many years' time, something new thing will happen, and it will probably, blow our minds. We'll be like, what?
I'm trying to think if we've had a similar one yet. Nothing's springing to mind.
Yeah. All I was going to say was, this is actually a topic definitely for another day, but I've always thought about, in my lifetime so far, I don't think anything has really pushed the boundaries on, like, technology. We haven't landed on the moon, like, a similar... The only thing I can think of, and the only thing that I will say has really revolutionised the world, is the smartphone.
Yeah, alright, I was right behind you. And you know what's even more interesting about that, is that whenever there's, those films like Back to the Future, where they're about the future, but the future has now already happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any film ever predicted the idea of having like a tiny little computer in your hand that could do everything a computer can.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
Quicker. Yeah.
And sorry, the final thing on Dolly, I was going to say the answer to that question. I'm just gonna put it to you and see if you can think very quickly on the spot here. No pressure. So why would all of the DNA in Dolly not be completely cloned?
Mitochondrial DNA.
He's got it. Well
you can't beat me there.
Wonderful.
Nah.
Yeah. So 1% of the genes in a cell are from the mitochondria, and the mitochondria was not cloned. Well, that would have been quite a hassle.
That's how you get or you could have 3-parent children.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that brings us nicely to the end of the show. I think that we've done 3 podcasts now, and I think they've all been slightly different, but I think each one is certainly representing an element of what we want the rest of the podcast to be. Okay, because the first episode was, again, personal, and we're always going to bring our stories, like, the video that teacher showed us. We're always going to bring that into this. The second episode was about what we see in the news, and I think, although that episode was purely based on news articles, I'd like to bring that back again, because I think every week I see stuff, I want to talk about that. I'd like to bring that back in, and then this third episode has been what we really want this to be. Biology, sciencey stuff, and just bringing you some stuff that you might not know. So, I hope you agree.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. I think either a pattern will emerge where we're like, all right, we'll do a newsy one today, or
we might split it half and half.
But again, it's one of those things where, like this week, I just didn't have time to read about Dolly. So I brought what I've been doing to the table.
Yeah, and it was interesting, and you never know, perhaps we can slightly follow what you're up to every time you do a podcast.
When I'm really depressed.
I hope not.
And I'm a week from deadline, and
So yes, thank you very much for listening. We don't know when the next one will be out, but hopefully it won't be too long, because I very much enjoy this, and I hope you all enjoy listening to it.
Oh yeah, if you subscribe, that's great. If you don't, get on it, and then you'll know, because like it's not going to be a regular upload, but we don't want you to miss one.
No. Okay, so we will see you next time on Survival of the Thickest.